Welcome back to another episode of Speak English Podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Sarah. It's great to have you with us today. Our goal with this podcast is to help you improve your English through natural conversations and practical insights.
That's right. Whether you're listening during your commute, at home, or while taking a walk, this is a great way to practice your English skills.
And today, we're talking about something really important: the importance of saying no in English learning.
Many English learners think they have to say yes to every opportunity to practice. But is that really the best approach? In this episode, we'll explore why saying no can actually help you learn more effectively.
We'll discuss common myths, the benefits of setting boundaries, and practical ways to say no in English without sounding rude.
So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by too many study commitments, this episode is for you. By the end, you'll have the tools to make better choices in your learning journey.
Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our episodes. Ready? Let's get started.
Many English learners believe that saying yes to every opportunity to practice will automatically make them fluent. The idea is that the more you expose yourself to English, the faster you'll learn. While this sounds logical, it's not entirely true. Imagine you're constantly saying yes to every study group, every conversation partner, every extra lesson. Soon, you might feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and even frustrated. Learning a language should be a sustainable process, not a race. If you try to do everything at once, you might end up feeling stuck instead of making real progress.
That's such an important point, David. Many learners think that refusing a conversation or skipping an extra class means they're missing out on progress. But in reality, saying yes too often can actually slow them down. Think about it. If you join too many activities, your mind becomes overloaded. Instead of focusing on quality learning, you're just trying to survive the quantity of information. Learning effectively is about balance. It's about making smart decisions and prioritizing the right activities. And this is where the power of saying no comes in. It's not about avoiding practice. It's about choosing the best ways to practice.
Many people think that saying no is a negative thing, but in reality, it can be one of the most powerful tools for improving your English. When you say no to distractions or ineffective methods, you create space for the things that truly matter. Imagine you have a limited amount of time each day to practice English. If you fill that time with activities that don't help you improve, like passively watching TV without paying attention or joining a study group that doesn't challenge you, you're wasting valuable learning opportunities. But when you say no to these things, you free yourself to focus on what really works.
That's a great perspective, David. And I think this applies not just to activities, but also to the way we use our energy. If you're constantly trying to do everything, you might end up feeling mentally drained. Learning a language requires focus and engagement. If you spread yourself too thin, you won't have enough energy to truly absorb what you're learning. Saying no allows you to protect your energy and invest it in meaningful practice. And this is why choosing the right study methods is so important. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart.
So, now that we understand the power of saying no, the next question is, how do we decide what deserves a yes? The key is to focus on activities that truly help you grow in your English learning journey. One way to do this is to ask yourself a simple question before committing to any practice method. Will this help me improve my speaking, listening, reading, or writing in a meaningful way? If the answer is unclear, it might not be the best use of your time. For example, actively engaging with English content, like listening to a podcast and repeating key phrases, is much more effective than just listening passively.
That's a great point, David. Another thing to consider is whether the activity challenges you just enough to keep you engaged, but not so much that it becomes frustrating. If something is too easy, you're not learning. If it's too hard, you might get discouraged. The best activities push you slightly outside of your comfort zone while still being enjoyable. This is why things like speaking with a language partner, writing daily journal entries, or even shadowing native speakers can be so effective. They help you develop skills in a practical and natural way. And once you start identifying these high-value activities, it becomes much easier to structure your learning routine.
Now that we've discussed how to identify what deserves a yes, it's time to dive into the tricky part, actually saying no. For many, the idea of rejecting something can feel uncomfortable, but it's an essential skill, especially in language learning. The first strategy is to be direct yet polite. You don't have to make excuses, simply state your priorities. For instance, if someone invites you to watch a movie in English, but you know your time would be better spent practicing speaking or reviewing vocabulary, you could say, "I really appreciate the invite, but I'm focusing on improving my English today." This kind of directness is respectful and lets people know where you stand without over-explaining.
Exactly, David. And if you find it difficult to be direct, it can be helpful to give yourself permission to say no without feeling guilty. It's not about rejecting others, it's about protecting your time. Another strategy is to offer an alternative if you feel comfortable doing so. For example, instead of saying no to a social event, you could say, "I can't join this time, but I'd love to catch up next week." This keeps the door open for future opportunities while ensuring that your current goals come first. It's about creating boundaries that support your personal growth.
And remember, saying no is a skill that gets easier with practice. It's all about prioritizing the activities that align with your goals. The more you say no to things that don't help you improve your English, the more time you'll have for the things that matter most. For instance, cutting out passive listening to English TV shows without subtitles might give you more time to engage with interactive language exercises that build your speaking and listening skills. You'll find that over time, you can say no confidently without feeling bad about it.
I completely agree. And by mastering the art of saying no, you're not just protecting your time, you're also showing respect for yourself and your learning journey. It allows you to become more intentional with the activities you choose to spend time on, which is a crucial element of mastering any language. The better you get at saying no to distractions, the more focused and productive your learning experience will be. And in the long run, this will help you get closer to fluency faster.
Now that we've covered how to say no and focus on what matters, let's talk about consistency, one of the most important factors when learning English. Consistency is key to improvement, but it can be difficult to maintain. Many learners start off strong, but over time, motivation can fade. So, how do we stay consistent? One way is by creating a daily routine. Even if it's just 20 minutes a day, regular practice beats occasional marathon sessions. The key is to make learning a part of your daily life, so it becomes a habit.
That's a great point, David. And the good news is, consistency doesn't have to mean sitting at your desk for hours. It can be as simple as listening to a podcast during your commute, reading a few pages of a book in English before bed, or practicing vocabulary while you're cooking. It's all about finding moments throughout your day to integrate English practice naturally. The more you make it a part of your routine, the less effort it takes to keep going.
Exactly. And I'd also recommend setting realistic goals to stay motivated. For instance, instead of aiming to speak perfect English, set smaller, achievable goals like, "I'll learn 5 new words today," or "I'll have a 2-minute conversation in English." These goals are measurable, so you can track your progress and celebrate small wins. This sense of accomplishment will encourage you to stick with it, especially on days when motivation is low.
That's an excellent strategy, David. And while working towards these smaller goals, don't forget to track your progress in a way that makes you feel proud. Maybe create a checklist, or even keep a journal of your language learning journey. Seeing how far you've come can reignite your motivation. And remember, consistency is about building habits, not pushing yourself too hard. Be kind to yourself on the days when things don't go perfectly. Learning is a marathon, not a sprint.
So, as we wrap up the discussion on finding your flow, we can't ignore one of the most significant hurdles people face when learning English: challenges. Whether it's dealing with a plateau, struggling with pronunciation, or feeling overwhelmed by new vocabulary, everyone hits a roadblock at some point. And that's okay. The key is to understand that challenges are part of the process. They don't mean you're failing, they're just a sign that you're pushing your boundaries. But how can we handle these challenges without losing momentum? Let's talk about it.
One strategy is to break down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. For example, if you're struggling with pronunciation, you could focus on mastering just one sound at a time. Don't try to conquer everything at once. Set a goal for the week to practice that sound daily, and by the end of the week, you'll notice a significant improvement. This kind of focused effort will help you push through plateaus.
Another important aspect of staying motivated is surrounding yourself with a supportive environment. Find a study buddy, join an online community, or engage in social media groups where you can interact with others who are on the same journey. Motivation often comes from external sources, and having people to share the highs and lows with can keep you going when the going gets tough. It's not just about the language, it's about building connections.
Absolutely, David. And sometimes staying motivated means recognizing when it's time to take a break. It's easy to think that constant practice is the key, but it's equally important to give your mind some space to absorb the information. Overloading yourself with too much at once can lead to burnout. Instead, take regular breaks, even if they're just 5-minute pauses throughout your study session. When you come back, you'll feel refreshed and ready to tackle the next challenge with a clearer mind.
All right, Sarah, as we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've talked about. We've explored the power of staying energized and focused all day long, and how creating a daily routine is the key to achieving that. Now, it's important to remember that the routine we discussed isn't something you just jump into overnight. It's a gradual process of finding balance and structure that works for you. The important thing is to start small and keep building momentum. Even the simplest of changes, when made consistently, can lead to incredible results. And it all starts with taking that first step. Maybe today you feel inspired to make just one positive change in your daily routine. And over time, those changes will add up to something truly transformative.
That's right, David. It's all about consistency and progress. Don't be too hard on yourself if things don't change immediately. Remember, the journey to improvement is ongoing, and the key is to keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps may seem. Now, as we conclude this episode, we want to remind you that your journey to staying energized and productive starts with the choices you make today. Stick to your routine, stay positive, and believe in your ability to achieve your goals. If you found today's episode helpful, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and motivation. Give us a like if you enjoyed this content and share it with someone who could benefit from it. We can't wait to see you in the next episode. So until then, keep working on your routine and stay energized.